So yeah, county treasurer, probably the most obscure place on the ballot, and one of the few that's actually behind Stan Standard in the ballot order. And so, I'm sure you guys have heard it a number of times, and it's true. We have to get out in as many numbers as possible and vote the entire ballot. This is too important of an election, as all of them are, to leave spots blank. One of the reasons we've one of the reasons why we've gone from, I can probably do it without. You got me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
One of the reasons we've gone from blue to purple to red is because we have a lot of Republicans who are principled, and it's a good thing to say, I don't want to vote for somebody who's bad. I don't want to, if I don't know them and I don't feel confident in that vote, I'm not going to vote for them. But the consequence of that has been clear. The Democrats have taken control of Commissioner's Court, and they've taken control of every countywide office in Harris County. Because the Democrat motto is, vote blue no matter who. Well, the time for picking our team was back in March. This is our team going forward in November. So we have to vote for every Republican up and down the ballot. Just to give you, and I was asked to speak about the bond propositions, but just a little bit about the office itself of the treasurer. Every dollar that flows into and out of the county has to pass through the treasurer's office. So essentially, you are the first and last stop against any of the corruption that's going on, right? It's the only office with full line of sight on the budget, who also can't issue contracts themselves, who can oversee this budget process. I am not accountable to Commissioner's Court. The budget director, the county auditor, are all hired and fired by a majority on Commissioner's Court. This is the only office with full line of sight of the budget that's only accountable to the taxpayer. So I think it's important to have somebody in there to serve as the eyes and the ears of the taxpayer to make sure that the money's going to the right places and staying out of the wrong places. All right? But the ballot propositions, I'm confident you guys are going to vote red all the way down. So let's talk about those. After you get through voting for all 88 races that are on the ballot, and after you vote for precinct 4 Jack Cagle, Cagle's still up in this one. I've lost some of the lines.
Yeah.
Cagle is the spot right after me. You're going to get some ballot propositions and school board and water board races. The ballot propositions are 3. And in sum, they total $1.2 billion. Now there's essentially 3 problems with these ballot propositions, which is why Cagle and Ramsey are not supporting them, and why I urge you as well to vote against them. So $1.2 billion. We still have remaining from our 2015 bond $200 billion. From the 2018 bond, we still have $2 billion remaining. So in total, we have the capacity to utilize $2.2 billion to address the needs of the county. Now, I'm not saying we have all of our needs will be met with that amount of money. We'll certainly at some point need to raise more funds to address our continuing and ongoing flood problems. Problem with these, and this gets us to the second point, with every bond proposition that's ever been floated, from school board to city to county, they always stipulate which projects they're going to tackle. Now, they don't always stick to them, but at least they start out being clear on what needs to be addressed with these bond dollars. They haven't done it with this. What they've just said is in broad categories, we need public safety money, we need flood control money, and we need some infrastructure money. But they haven't told us where the money's going. So the lack of transparency should be troublesome to all, because essentially what they're asking for is a $1.2 billion slush fund. In addition to that, one of the bond propositions is guided to public safety. Now, bonds are used to finance infrastructure, large capital expenditure problems that your regular cash flows from taxes can't cover. We need a bridge, we need a new detention ponds, we need some dredging. These aren't things that normal tax flows cover, because normal tax flows go to basic maintenance and operations. But one of these is geared towards public safety, which is basic maintenance and operations. So they want to take on debt to finance the basic operations of the county. Folks, this is like looking up, seeing a hole in the roof of your house and saying, let's go get a flat screen TV. Or it's also like saying, let's take a second mortgage out on our house so we can pay our light bill. This is not fiscally responsible. If we need more officers, which we do, we use the tax dollars to cover that, not a bond issuance that will, admittedly, raise your tax rate, raise your taxes at minimum $37. So, I urge you guys all to vote no on these bond propositions and encourage all the others to do so as well. And one of the advantages, because we've been talking about the bond propositions, and because we have so many down ballot races, even at the local entity. So we have Water Board, David Barker's here, right? We have these school board races in Tomball, Huffman, Crosby, and Klein. Historically conservative areas, which means what? It means all of these conservative voters are going to be voting all the way through the ballot just to get to these races at the bottom that they care about. So while I'm encouraged by the prospects that we have in November, and undoubtedly, the Republicans have the energy on our side. The reason the room is thin today is because they're out burning energy, knocking on doors, right? I mean, that is the beauty of what's going on. Stan and I were at a meeting this morning when, how many people were there?
50, 60?
50 people, so by political standards, at least 120 folks were there.
At 9
Yeah, at 9 o'clock this morning, there were 50, 60 people standing in someone's driveway listening to a bunch of folks pontificate about the importance of Harris County government. So the energy is definitely on our side. What we have to do now is not lose it in the last 2 weeks. This one is for us to take, which means it's not enough for you to go vote. It's not enough for your neighbor to go vote. You have to contact everybody you know in whatever means is convenient for you. Whether that's text, whether that's email, whether that's a phone call, and tell them, don't just go vote, but you have to complete the ballot. You have to vote all the way down. It's better if you go vote early, and it's better if you go vote at a slow time because the lines will be long, intentionally so in some cases. I mean, what I'm hearing is that Rodney Ellis and Sheila are collecting buses from historically Democrat areas, and they're bringing them to Republican strongholds to stack the lines in order to deter Republican voting. Yeah, right? Because you show up, you see a long line, you're just not going to go vote that day. So what I'm telling you is go vote during a slow time, vote early, or when you go vote on election day, just be prepared to wait a while, and it's going to take you a while to get through the ballot. But it will pay dividends for another 4 years of a majority on Commissioner's Court, because we need Jack Hagel back. We need Jack Mormon in Precinct 2, which is on the other side of the county. It's like crossing Delaware to get over there. And of course, we need Alex Mueller to be our next county judge. So I know you guys are going to do it. Get folks out, get yourselves out, and we'll see you guys Monday at the polls. Thank you all very much.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Scott.
Nobody ever asks you questions because you're at the bottom of the ballot. You have said, and I've heard you say repeatedly, that you're the front door and the back door or something like that for the money being spent. You talk about the budget. My question is, what can you actually do to say, I don't like this contract, I don't like this amount of money? I mean, I don't even know what the questions are.
Sure.
Do you?
So, prior to the Elevate Strategies contract, this was all hypothetical, right? But so you take the Elevate Strategies, and if you're not familiar, I'll run you through it real quick. This was an $11 million contract given to a former staffer of Adrian Garcia to go out and do COVID awareness. What we found out is that it's now led to 3 indictments in Lena Hidalgo's office due to bid rigging. Now, it gets worse because the contract was pulled back after the Texas Rangers served a search warrant in Hidalgo's office. But when the contract was canceled, the county still paid money on the canceled contract.
No.
There's no way that money should have left the county. The other side of that is there was a nonprofit that we had taken our ARPA funds and given them to in order to administer for rental assistance, $27.4 million. We gave it to them, and they took a 12% commission. And the 12% commission is important because what this nonprofit did was it overpaid some of the people. It had paid 2 and 3 times people who had requested, say I requested $500, they went ahead and paid them $500 2 and 3 times. That totaled up to being over $900,000 that they overpaid the people. And instead of taking that money out of their commission and then making up the difference or eating it themselves, the county, without going out to contract and without going out to bid again, just made them whole by issuing them another $900,000. And those are things that at minimum need to stop, go back to Commissioner's Court and the statutory code 114.053, paragraphs A and C, even though the Chronicle doesn't believe me or didn't hear me, it states very clear that in instances of illegality, unethical behavior, or impropriety, the treasurer has the authority to stop, raise the question to Commissioner's Court. If Commissioner's Court is unable to resolve that question, then go to the county attorney's office. And if not then you can keep elevating it up. So at minimum, and then one of the hypotheticals I used was, after the Dobbs decision, when abortion became illegal in the state of Texas, and Commissioner's Court then wanted to use your tax dollars to bus people to places where it was then legal to have an abortion, if that had come and it was a check to be issued, that's certainly something that the Attorney General needs to be approved before those funds are released. Because I'm not convinced that would not have been an illegal act.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The bond, 2018 bond, is that the flood bond?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, we'll pass this bond for $2.5 billion in hopes that we'll get $2.5 billion in matching funds. Those matching funds never came. But to date, we've only spent about $500 million of that, and only 21% of the projects have been completed or at some stage of being ready to go. Yep. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Cal.
Thank you.
Very much.